They're MIT students.
From 1994 to 2000, one group of students has been winning millions counting cards in Las Vegas. They are known simply as the MIT Blackjack Team.
This college club revolutionized the gambling world forever, and they did it from the comfort of their Ivy League classroom. How did this group of unassuming nerds capture the attention of every casino on the planet? To understand why, we have to go to the group's roots. MIT alumni are no stranger to the unknown. Students here are always at the forefront of human discovery, with new breakthroughs in robotics and computing coming out the institute's doors like clockwork. So among classes like aerospace studies and nuclear engineering, Blackjack 101 stuck out like a sore thumb. It was an exciting step away from the school's usual output, and that captured the imagination of some dozen students who just realized they were on the brink of their own radical new discovery. Blackjack's odds usually aren't so great. It's basically a coin flip with a slight edge to the house. But with the students' new spin on Edward Thorp's card counting system, this process led with enough people could turn blackjack into a bona fide investment opportunity.
I mean, first of all, you've got geniuses who are geniuses at math and science. You also have slightly rebellious types of people, people who don't, look at authority figures that well, who are willing to try something different.
The kids shopped their new system around to loan sharks of all sizes, eventually gathering a sizable bankroll of $5,000 for their first trip on the front lines. Now that they had the means and know-how, they just needed a safe place to practice their theory. The last thing these people are is stupid. They know better than to just go in guns blazing right for the casino's throat. Ever since card counting spread through every nerd like a wildfire in the 60s, casinos have been doing everything they can to make it a crime. Luckily, that attempt failed in Atlantic City, New Jersey, as the jury sided with the card counter when the issue was brought to the attention of the court. Casinos would still throw you out, no problem, but now the team didn't have the possibility of seeing their mugshots in the student paper. All this made Atlantic City casinos the perfect ground for them while they found their footing. Unfortunately, their first run was a bust. While they doubled that $5,000 from investors, it was still within the margin of random chance. As an experiment, it was an abject failure. That night showed the team that even under all the right conditions, there was still so much to blackjack they couldn't control, even if all their cards were played right. They were still missing something, but no one of the team could quite put their finger on it. After the trip to Atlantic City, the team went out at night to wash down their failures with some Chinese takeout, and like fate, they found the answer to all their problems: Bill Kaplan. While in the restaurant, the MIT had overheard Kaplan brag about his many gambling adventures and knew then and there that they needed his help. As an up-and-coming Ivy League graduate, Bill Kaplan fit every stereotype. By all intents and purposes, he had a free pass to the upper crust of anything he wanted, but at the last minute, he decided to throw that all away and make his fortune gambling in Las Vegas. He too had caught on the card-counting teachings of Edward Thorp, who had become a sort of math nerd messiah. He did a great deal in legitimizing gambling as an actual skill and not just mind game.
What Ed Thorp did by writing the book is he informed people that if they're smart enough, they study enough, they can beat the game at 21. Nobody can beat casino games, but here's a game that can be beat.
There was just one small issue. Kaplan had to tell his parents that he was not only abandoning his dream school, but that he wanted to risk his scholarship in a shady Vegas casino. Of course they disapproved, as any sane parent would, but his stepfather had a plan. To really see if his son had what it took to survive the Vegas Strip, he challenged him to blackjack every night for 2 weeks, and every night, his son had him running for his money. He more than proved his worth around the table, and his stepfather had seen enough. With much reservation, his parents were ready to let their college boy put his life on hold. Kaplan spent the time he'd spend in a lecture hall at the blackjack table. In his first 9 months in Vegas, he had earned $35,000 off that measly $2,000 investment, a net profit of just under $100,000 in today's money. The level of success for a single person was completely foreign to the MIT team. His secret? He knew how to control his nerves. With his insane amount of experience, they brought on Kaplan as manager, and he taught the class everything he knew about blackjack and beyond. Now they were more than just gamblers. They were on the cusp of a $1 million business. Kaplan was managing around 35 card counters every night. He knew the ins and outs of a casino and knew just what to do if any of his boys got in trouble. They understood the math just fine. It was the nerves that continued to plague their hot streak. Students found the club through word of mouth, and the idea of winning thousands grabbed the attention of whizzes and nerds of all shapes and sizes from all across the country. With this large sample size, the team was able to be stricter with new members. Potential members were trained at no extra cost, and at the end of their lessons, they were put through a gauntlet of 8 blackjack games they had to play almost perfectly. At the end of this trial by fire, the future players are put through more rigorous training, background checks, and most importantly, they tested their nerves. When they proved they are capable, they become full-fledged members and are ready for the casino floor. As the team funneled in more members, the casinos had become more and more of a battleground between card counters and security. Like I said earlier, casinos started cracking down on card counting, and one surefire way for security to catch a counter was by looks alone. Button-up shirts and pocket protectors weren't going to fly with Caesar's security no more. Card counting also just requires a lot of focus that's easy for a casino to point out. Heading to a table hyper-vigilant with no drinks, no nothing was like wearing a giant sign that says, "Throw me out."
When I first started playing as a big player and was winning, the casinos didn't seem to mind too much because they know, that even the average gambler is going to win sometimes. But it was the consistency of the winning. So it was after, 10 trips, they might look at, my record and say, hey, he should have lost 100,000 and he's won 200,000. This doesn't add up.
The looming threat of being boosted at any moment just made the team more anxious, and it started cutting into the group's profits. After all, you can't focus if you're a jittering mess, and the students' stress only gave security another thing to look for. Something had to change, and fast. That's when Kaplan had a literal $1 million idea. He was going to make the group adopt fake identities. Now their success hinged on them acting as stupid and drunk as possible. There was no way security was going to suspect some drunkard of card counting. They'd chalk it all up to dumb luck. The personas were working like a charm. It helped the team remain cool and confident while at the table, and gave them all an easy alibi to fall back on if things got tricky. One student named Punter turned one stereotype into another. He played up being a crazy Asian gambler coming from a long line of rich and spoiled sons. He used the casino's racist security to play them as absolute fools. The team is full of stories like this one, and these aliases got the MIT students high-class treatment.
The MIT team in the early 90s was the most feared team on earth.
Casinos love customers with plenty to lose and offered the boys free drinks, food, rooms, and tickets to Vegas shows. It was quite unusual for the college boys, who usually were sustained on mess hall lunch while living in their crammed dorms. Now every time a student went out, they were treated like a king. Some let the high-rolling life get the best of them. They started to become careless, unassuming at first. In hindsight, it was a clear sign of the beginning of the end. Profits were still booming, with sects of MIT students all around the globe counting cards. The team's total domination and control over blackjack was unlike anything casinos had ever seen before. The bigger the team's footprint, the harder it was to keep it all under wraps. More and more players were getting sloppy. They had started running into issues that Kaplan had ironed out years before. Everything was falling apart around them. While getting caught was actually quite painless, with every student in custody, casinos had more information to work with. Tables got stricter, students got lazier. All in all, profits were rolling downhill faster than the 1920s stock market. They were losing good talent fast. The team was getting desperate. They started bringing in people who could do the math, but were all thumbs when it came to acting the part of a casino big shot. This desperation only led to more clues ending up in the casino's hands. The casinos found that all of the students caught had addresses in or around Cambridge and quickly deduced that the team was from MIT. Once the casino had found the school's yearbook, it was all over. The discovery of the class yearbook basically handed all future and current members' names and faces to the casino on a silver platter. There wasn't much anyone could do now.
I really don't think that most people are that much aware how many cameras there are and that all the things that are being watched. And certainly if you're not doing anything wrong, it's of no importance to you. Nobody's going to save a picture of your Aunt Maud in her plaid shorts, because if she's walking through the lobby, nobody cares. But if she lands on a table and she starts fooling around with the cards, then somebody's going to have a picture of Aunt Maud, and they're going to want to know what's she up to.
While laws were a bit kinder in the US, overseas you were at the complete mercy of the casino. With the team being no secret at this point, the emotional and financial cost of busting out an undergrad from foreign prison every couple of days started to dig into Kaplan. The stress was too much to bear, and with the group's little profit being split amongst so many members, it was no longer worth the risk. Maybe even just a couple of years ago, losses like this could be made back, but now they were running out of road. By the end of the millennium, the team had completely dissolved. Some people continued to gamble as a team, carrying on the group's spirit, and some people never touched a playing card again. Kaplan, however, had cut his losses and decided to delve headfirst into real estate, which was a little more stable than managing a card-counting team, at least between the years 2000 and 2007. At their peak, the team was taking home over $400,000 in a single weekend, and at the end of it all, every person on the team walked away with $10 million in casino winnings. Many other team members used their experience in this little club to jumpstart other careers. Some went into public speaking. Some used their winnings to start a company. Kaplan dumped his side of the fortune into settling down, resting comfortably with his wife to make up for years of blackjack team managing induced stress. This best outcome really with how notorious the team had become, making a similar team with any other group members was a sort of fool's errand. Spin-off groups would fade away as quickly as they'd sprung up. The team's success was a product of its time.